Jamie doesn't like it. Jamie doesn't like it. You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here, Jamie. It's final transmission. It's Christmas time. It's Sam Russo. It's Jamie Carruthers. Together forever, 1 week at a time. A horror movie coming at you. What you got, bud? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Sam. I'm having a good day. A wonderful pre-nog season.
'Tis the season of the noggin.
Yeah.
You noggin one off?
I've nogged. I'm not. I'm drinking a mango sparkling water.
Ooh. I mean, that's a tropical take on a Christmas classic.
Yeah. Is it?
Nope.
Yeah, fair. How are you, Sam?
I've ventured to say I've never been better.
You're a liar. How can you sit there and lie to our delightful audience like this?
Because they don't want they can't handle the truth.
No. If you want to see exactly how fucking haggard Sam Russo looks, you need to join the Patreon, because all of the recordings and all of their visual splendor as of last week will be available to watch week to week on our Patreon. It's a banger.
If you join the Patreon, you get to see this rare phenomenon that happens to me where if I frown so much sometimes that I actually burst blood vessels in my forehead, and I get this little patch of like broken shit, and I look completely insane. So join the Patreon and fill your eyes with that.
I once went to work in an old job with such a terrible hangover that I like projectile vomited in the bathroom and like gave myself 2 black eyes from like bursting all the blood vessels around my eyes.
At work?
At work, yeah.
Wow,
Went into the
that's
toilet,
impressive.
like pale, but okay. Came out of the toilet like I'd been in a fight.
Holy crap, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I was once comforting a colleague who was puking his actual soul up in the toilets while like this staff briefing was going on, like everyone gathering around in the staff room, bullshit briefing, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to be all right. How do I look? And he turned around and he was puking so hard he'd given himself a nosebleed. It was like completely uncontrollable flood of blood all over the place. And I was like, you might need to plug that up, bud. So he plugged it up and he was like, right, I'm ready. And he walked straight out of the toilet and started presenting immediately. I didn't realize that he had to like host the second half of the briefing. It was ridiculous. He stank of whiskey. It was great.
Vomiting at work is a very festive thing, I think, right?
I mean, I assume so. It probably happens a lot.
Yeah, nobody's vomiting at work in June, right?
I don't know. I think people puke at work year round, bud. I think it might be a thing. It just, it's going to be more nog-based vom at Christmas.
Yeah.
Nog brings the vom. Like, you know, Christmas amateurs will be just knocking back that nog without realizing that it's going to curdle with some kind of, you know, pickled object they've just eaten. And it's coming back.
Pickled object?
Yeah, you know, like a pickled egg or a pickled pickle or a pickled onion.
Who's eating pickled eggs at work? Like, fuck, I don't work with that person.
Christmas delicacy, bud. Workplace pickled egg at Christmas. It's a thing.
I spent my day today at work writing the Christmas party quiz, which I host every year.
You're really good at that. Your Christmas party quiz is an absolute belter.
Yeah, maybe I'll share it out with the gang so you can
share
all
some bits.
See the quiz. Maybe I won't. Fuck you. Who knows? Maybe I'll put it on the Patreon so you got to pay to see it. Who knows?
A Christmas mystery. Will he, won't he?
Will he?
Well, I mean, speaking of Christmas mysteries, what are we talking about this week?
I think vomit and pickled eggs.
Great.
We're talking about the 2010 Finnish festive horror film, Rare Exports.
And how, pray tell, did this enter your sphere of entertainment, Jamie? What brought you to this moment?
I have never seen this film before. I mean, I have now.
Yeah.
It'd be awkward, wouldn't it, if to do a podcast about it if I hadn't seen it?
You're a rough hang. But it is fairly rare that we cover a movie that you have not seen before, or sometimes more than a dozen times.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen this. It's always been one that's been on my periphery. I'm not, as we've discussed before, a huge Christmas horror guy. But when I kind of realized that this was about how Christianity bastardized indigenous folklore of Europe and other countries in order to manufacture their sort of festive holiday, it became a bit more interesting to me. The idea that that we're finally sort of addressing and exploring that. So I was like, okay, we'll give this a go. And so I
Roped
picked,
in by cynicism.
yeah. Well, I mean, if there's two things in the world that I love, it's pre-Christian European folklore
And
and
Coca-Cola.
cynics.
Oh, and cynics. Yeah, those are big faves for you.
So smash them together, and I might be having a great time. Not going to
Smash
tell
them
you.
together. Yeah, there's no way. There's absolutely no way of knowing. I have found that the people I know who like this film, it's an inexplicable match of personality and media. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm deeply, deeply fascinated to know what you thought about this film, which is it's a good thing really because we have a whole podcast dedicated to that exact thing.
Absolutely. What about you? Had you seen it before? Is this a
No. So I'd been recommended this very strongly by your friend and mine, co-founder and co-owner of Red Scare Industries, Tobias Jeg, who is a huge fan of this movie. When he found out that we were doing a horror movie podcast, this was one of the first movies he told me we should do. And
nice?
he said, do it at Christmas. And I was like, all right, don't count your chickens. We're probably not going to make it to Christmas. Here we are, 2 Christmases down the road,
Yeah.
finally getting to the film that he likes. So I didn't know it existed. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. It never popped up in any kind of... Because I do a lot of like searching around for Christmas horror and Christmas movies generally. I think it had maybe come up a couple of times and maybe just slipped down the list by virtue of not being maybe as well known as some of the other, top shelf items that I wanted to get through first. But
Yeah, I also think that
fascinating-
the poster is not good.
the main poster, the sort of the DVD cover type poster, is complete shite. However, there is a really good, I don't know what the word is, like hand-drawn art piece type cover that features a big scary Santa Claus in the right-hand side, the kid in the middle in all his pads, the 3 men behind him, and then a helicopter in the background. And that is a fucking cool cover.
Okay, I don't think I've seen that.
There's some other really bad ones as well that are just like Santa faces and crates. And yeah, it seems like the art direction and the marketing for this was all over the map.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame for me because this was distributed by Oscilloscope Labs, which is MCA from the Beastie Boys. That's his like movie production and distribution label. Not
Right.
anymore because he died, but
He did die.
he did die.
So, a Finnish movie, our first Finnish film. A lot of it was in Finnish, which was great.
Yeah, I was surprised at the amount of it that was in English. To be honest.
Yeah, I assumed it was going to be a Finnish film that they felt they had to make in English. Do you know what I mean? Which thankfully they didn't. I really enjoy hearing the Finnish language. I think it's fucking mystifyingly beautiful. I think I forget just how fucking close Finland is to Russia. My geography is not good enough to remember that they share a border.
Yeah.
So there's some like hinterland language going on there that feels a little bit Russian, a little bit Baltic, a little bit
Like Nordic, yeah.
yeah, very very Nordic moments. Yeah, it's cool. It's just a great language to listen to.
It's a cool language. Why don't you give us a synopsis on the movie Rare Exports?
I was avoiding that by waffling about the Finnish language. Where are we? Are we in Lapland?
Yeah, let's say yeah.
We're in the Korvatuntuuri Mountains. I'm going to say every word wrong. And there is shit's going down, man. There's an excavation occurring. There's a crew of scientific explorer excavators drilling into a huge mountain, right? That's their big thing. They love doing that.
They do love doing that.
So they're going at this mountain, and in the process, they make a discovery. They unearth an ancient vault, shall we say? No spoilers. There's one guy who's real happy about this. It's his whole deal. It's his goal to unearth this ancient object. But the rest of the crew don't know what's happening, and nor do we at that point. So anyway, there's there's also a kid and his dad, and they live at the base of this mountain. And in the process of exploring what's happening in the excavation, the kid accidentally fucking cuts a hole in a fence, and
The fence hole is purposeful. The effect that it has on the local wildlife, less so.
he cuts a hole in a fence, and it causes an accident, is what I meant. And the precipitating events of this accident, they have seismic consequences for the local community. And in the process, wow, Christmas happens as well. There's Advent, doors are opened, doors are closed. And in the process of Advent, people discovered things about themselves, about the mountain, and about the true nature of Christmas. And oh no, maybe it's not all fucking jingle bells and Coca-Cola and happy snow. Maybe it's bad, evil, hard times coming at you, and all your kids are going to be in sacks, and everyone's going to die. And that's the plot of the movie Rare Exports.
That's several words in some sort of order that generally describe the plot of this movie. Yeah,
Let me try again.
I think that's fine. Don't bother.
I can't. What is the plot of this movie?
God knows.
Wow. Do you want the spoiler version? Because the spoiler version's way fucking easier.
Nah, well, we'll do this. We'll do spoilers after the break, Sam.
All right. I'll do another spoiler synopsis after to really give you your money's worth. If you've seen this film, you're listening to that synopsis, nodding and going, yeah, that's the best anyone could ever do.
Should we take this break right now, Sam, so we can get back and do some spoilers?
Let's give a rocket.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Oh, we're back, Jamie.
We are back.
You have some time to really let that synopsis sink in, did you?
Yeah, I did. And I mean, before we get into spoilers and before we dissect that synopsis in its spoileriest glory, I just want to remind everybody listening to this that this podcast, Final Transmission, is brought to you by Red Scare Industries. Go to redscare.net for all of your, for a big chunk of your punk rock needs.
You could buy a t-shirt.
You could buy a t-shirt. You could buy
Only
a record.
if you're in America.
You can
But
buy
you-
it in the UK,
Yeah.
but
You'll
it'll
find
just take a while.
You'll find a range of links to places where you can buy music, which is a crucial act of support for the arts, because we are dying out here, people. And if you have a couple of quid left in your pocket after buying this Patreon, get out there and buy your favorite band's stuff. Check out some breakdowns. Check out some Broadway calls. Dive into some Sundowner. The best shit. Help yourself.
Yeah. Redscare.net. That's all you got. That's all you got to do.
Red Scare Industries. Everyone in. I just stole the marketing slogan from the beer Molson and added it to Red Scare. So cease and desist incoming.
Red Scare Industries. Think different.
Red Scare Industries. Holidays are coming. So yeah, this podcast brought to you by a guy who likes this film.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, Sam.
Yeah.
I didn't care for this film.
I fucking knew it. I knew it. Santa's little helpers were creeping around my bed last night, whispering, Jamie doesn't like it. Jamie doesn't like it. And I was like, fuck you, elves. I want to hear from the man himself. And there it is, straight from the reindeer's mouth. You don't like this film.
I mean, I did not like it. I was all revved up on the thing that I mentioned earlier, the conceit, the idea that like the modern depiction or interpretation of Saint Nicholas, Father Christmas, Santa Claus, whatever you want to call him, the modern interpretation of him not jiving with at least one of the sort of folkloric forebears. I was all revved up. My dick was, but it stalled. It stalled pretty quickly.
That's a shame for your
Yeah.
dick to be so revved and to stall so hard. The dick revving was premature.
Yeah. And like, I still like that core concept and that core idea. And I'm glad that somebody has had the fucking Finnish cojones to dig into that. And it was a good excuse for me to have a bit of a dig through Finnish winter festival folklore, which is not something that I knew an awful lot about beforehand.
Sure.
I was aware of like their goat, their little Christmas goat that formed the basis of what ultimately became Santa in Finnish culture. I believe it's called Julipuki.
Your Finnish is perfect.
Well, you know, what can I say? So it was fun for me to dig into that, but the movie itself, it felt so long, and it was 87 minutes.
Wow. Okay. One thing I will say is it didn't feel long to me. Obviously. So I guess there's our first minor difference.
Yeah.
Are you, just out of interest, are you aware of the Yule Lads? Have we explored this concept before?
The Yule Lads.
Yeah. I'm saying the word Yule followed by lads.
I don't know if I am familiar with that concept.
So I was excited / wondering if there was going to be a Yule Lad element to this movie, knowing of course that the Yule Lads are from Icelandic folklore. But I thought maybe this would, beg, borrow, and steal some folklore from other places. Now, we're not here to fucking teach you history, listeners, but you should definitely look up the Yule Lads, because holy crap are they fun. It's a bunch of little lads who visit on the 13 days of Christmas, and some of them are very fun. That one of them, whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce in English, is called the Sausage Swiper, who snatches sausages while they're being smoked in the lead up to Christmas. There's all kinds of stuff. There's one called Door Slammer, who, spoiler alert, enjoys slamming doors, waking up everyone in the household. Very good fun. Sheepcoat Clod loves harassing sheep. You got to look up the Yule Lads, is what I'm saying. So obviously we know this, right? The world is replete with wonderful folklore around what we now call Christmas. So the conceit of this movie has some serious fucking sausage on a hook waiting for us.
Absolutely. Exploring folklore that I'm not familiar with, or that I'm sort of vaguely familiar with, but I now have an excuse to dig into it a bit more. That's just a thing that I really enjoy.
Yeah. And you get a good, 15 seconds of that in this film.
Yeah, they really don't. The central thesis is still around, like, the fact that Christmas is built on top of the graves of religions that came before it and beliefs that came before Christianity, or before Christianity was widespread in these places, at least. Again, still cool, but, like, they don't spend the time on it that I was really hoping that they would.
You were hoping for something a little bit more darkly folkloric, exploring those hidden corners.
I quite liked, I'm going to jump to the end now, but I quite liked at the end when they defeat the central evil Santa and all of the Santa's little helper guys who were previously carrying out evil Santa's evil bidding and now rendered sort of harmless. I quite like the idea of like the working class people of Finland taking back the power over Santa and exporting him out to the rest of the world. I don't know if that's the point, that they're like Santa, or at least this interpretation of Santa should be owned by the people, the salt of the earth people of Finland, and they should be the ones that have the control over it. But everything in between didn't really gel with me.
I like that you went through that, because you said it better than I could. That's exactly the message that I was getting simmering away there. And I saw the evolution of the motivation of the characters and just how quickly they became quite avaricious and greed driven, and where that led them ultimately. I found some of that moral messaging a little bit confusing.
Yeah, me
but I
too.
think what you just said tracks really well. Fucking hell, I'm trying to be really nice here. A tricky a film to really slot neatly into the horror or Christmas genre. And the combo was kind of a rough hang, I thought.
Yeah, it's also. I mean, we haven't mentioned that it's meant to be a comedy.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything funny.
I found it more moving at times than I did comedic. I enjoyed the kid characters. I thought were very fun, but not funny. Maybe there's just like a Central European humor that we're just not getting here. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's more sort of like wry than funny.
Yeah, and the actual sort of turn of events at the end is more, to me, kind of zany. A bit of a wacky ending, which isn't my favorite thing.
I mean, it's hard to reconcile a comedy with 900 dead reindeer in it, but
I don't know. There's a lot of tragedy steeped into the great tradition of the Christmas movie, right? You get some of the darkest shit imaginable in Christmas movies, and then you're pissing your pants laughing and dancing with your loved ones the next minute. It's maybe just crucially a balance, isn't it? And
yeah.
I didn't find there was much extreme rapture in this movie to counterbalance the fairly extreme bleakness at times. The thing that makes this movie difficult to enjoy, essentially, is that it doesn't seem to lean hard enough into any of its themes for me to really have a strong punch. I have to say, I was almost impressed. I was actually quite impressed by the CG elements.
Yeah, I thought most of them were okay.
I think possibly not terrible.
I would say so. I think like the movie sort of generally looks quite beautiful, and I think despite the fact that it has like a zany element in the at least in the final act, like it doesn't have the tone of a zany film. It feels more like it has the tone of like a Cinema Paradiso or like one of those sort of weird European sort of comedies, kind of feel a bit tragic, but kid central poverty type movies.
Yeah, I hadn't made
it's kind of gorgeous to look at as well. But like, you throw enough snow around and everything just is always going to look beautiful, isn't it?
That's what I was going to say. That the stuff that looks great in this movie is usually circumstantial. If I'm honest, it's quite often a starkly lit nighttime snowy shot, which makes me think of The Thing, but it also makes me think of It's a Wonderful Life. You can't go too far wrong with snow, big white lights, and nighttime.
Yeah.
But there are some really well-framed shots in the daytime, particularly making the mountain look ominous, making the warehouse doors look real, which I don't think they are. Following the kid around a lot of the time, I think there's some really great shots of him, and I think his performance is fucking outstanding. Yeah. I love everything that kid does in the whole movie. There's moments where he's so unbearably cute that really builds us up for when he's in serious jeopardy. We actually worry about him. He seems quite tragic. He's obviously a little bit neglected. He's having to grow up quite fast. He's surrounded by very, very manly men, and he's walking around in his pants with a little pretend dog on a string. It's fucking heartbreaking. So I loved every second that we were with him, and I really enjoyed his relationship with his dad. There's a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, I'm a big... I mean, firstly, I want to say that he wouldn't have looked out of place in Gummo.
Yeah, I mean, I love how Finnish he looks, though.
He does look Finnish.
Such a little Finnish kid. And when he's covered in all his hockey pads, I think he's wearing his hockey pads on the outside of his clothes with, like, cardboard taped to his ass. I just thought that was really fun.
But yeah, so I'm a sucker for, like, a father-son relationship.
Yeah.
In media. And I didn't really buy into where their relationship ended up at the end of the movie.
How do you mean?
So, like, it starts off... So the trajectory of that relationship is, like, he's neglected. His dad's too busy fucking carving up dead animals to pay his son any attention.
Yeah.
And then suddenly his son uses his child's body to corral a bunch of elves into an electric pen.
Yeah.
While other people blow up original Santa. And then after that, he's like, hey, we should sell these Santas to malls across the world. And his dad's like, do you know what? I love you, son. You're a man now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not the way that I saw it, but I completely see why anyone would see it that way now. I saw it as more that he lived up to his dad's like manly expectations of him in his ingenuity, self-sacrifice, bravery, etc. I thought that happened before they decided to sell all these men to businesses. These poor, hapless, quite possibly subnormal, elderly men, before they decided to ship them in crates across the world. I thought that's when the father-son relationship really crystallized. But that's not clear. So, yeah, whatever you like, I guess. That whole sequence at the end there did have a kind of energy to it that I bought into, to be honest. A bit of a Flight of the Valkyries type, there's a chase happening. It's very high octane. It's also quite silly, but in a fun way. It did have me kind of, I'd say, giggling a little bit.
I liked it, that section.
Yeah.
But it was just sort of a thing that happened to me, near me.
Yeah. It doesn't have this like explosively bonkers trajectory where anything could happen. It feels a little bit like it goes nuts, but not so nuts that it's completely outrageous. And then it's almost admin at the end. Do you know what I mean? That's not a particularly exciting resolution for me, that they just start shipping men in boxes.
It's also admin before that as well. Like everything apart from the chase is admin, I would say. Like apart from at the beginning when the people that are speaking English, one of them is English. I don't know where the rest of them are from. One of them has a strong foreign accent of some kind. There's some fun happening there, particularly when they happen upon the sort of icy grave of Santa.
Yeah.
And then he has to issue these rules about like, no swearing because if you're a bad boy, then Santa will get you.
Again,
which I think is great. That's fun to me.
It's a good start of a fun idea, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I expected there to be like a Quiet Place style moment where this giant creepy Santa was like waiting for someone to fuck up, basically, or reveal that they were a naughty boy. Like a set piece like that would be quite fun, but it just doesn't really happen.
Yeah, well, I think the real pulled punch in this movie is that we get no Santa at all. He remains in the ice until he's blown up, and then he's dead.
They do put you in a spot, though, where you don't necessarily want full original Santa, because it was always going to be CG and it was always going to be shit. So I actually said out loud, fuck, I hope we don't see what's in that ice, because I knew it would be horrible fucking golden eye Santa, and I wasn't ready for that. However,
I did like the visual of like the huge block of ice with the horns.
Me too.
But like, it felt like a bit of unrealized potential.
Maybe even just his face, like through translucent ice. A bit more jeopardy to the fact the ice is melting. Do you know what I mean? That would have been cool. Because we know what's coming out is a horrific evil, and we know that there's going to be amazing devastation caused by it, and it's going to be gnarly and ancient, and the closest thing, I guess, that we've seen in movies would be like a Krampus type figure. The fact that we don't get that is disappointing.
Yeah, completely agreed.
At least we get loads of... The knob count in this movie is fucking through the stratosphere. So many cold dicks, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, me and Sarah on the Revenge episode while you were away talked about how there is a dearth of full frontal male nudity in the horror genre. Yeah. And this film is doing a lot of heavy lifting in trying to redress that balance.
A dearth of girth. Some serious Finnish cock in this film. And yeah, I mean, actually, I'm assuming it's those extras could be from anywhere. So,
well, they could be, but like, I was like, is there just an endless supply of skinny, balding, grey-haired men with long beards in Finland? Is that just like their national export, or like their not so rare export?
Yeah. I just, not to stay on the subject for too long, but I do love seeing a floppy cock in a movie. Just pleasing.
Yeah.
Great
I think it's fun.
The older the better, I'd go as far as.
It's just like we've seen so much female nudity over the years. It's time to get those boobs out of the way and let's see some old floppy man penis.
I mean, that's one thing you can say for this movie. No boobs.
Yeah? No women.
You know what else you could say? No women. Yeah, exactly. an outrageous choice by the filmmakers to feature 0 characters that aren't men.
Yeah, well, I think there aren't any Icelandic women. I mean, Finnish women, are there? They don't have
guess
them
not.
there.
I mean, actually, no one. But in this film universe, maybe there aren't any women. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's another unexplored plot point. I mean, speaking of unexplored plot points, I have to be honest. I didn't really understand what was happening. I get that Santa was buried in the ground under like a massive type of, like a huge grave, basically.
Yeah,
a
man-made
tomb.
mountain.
Yeah. Why?
Because he's evil.
Care.
Like, so if there's
he's a vital part of the ecological landscape of keeping naughty kids in check, though, right?
Well, I think so. In Finnish folklore, Julipuki was this giant goat that would basically just steal bad kids, which, we have that in lots of other pre-Christian European winter folklore.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of those. And like, it's obviously where the basis of like, if you're naughty, you'll get a lump of coal comes from. But it used to be, if you're naughty, you'll get thrown into a sack and replaced by a doll and beaten to death with sticks.
Yes,
which,
exactly.
I would be far less likely to be naughty.
Such a strong deterrent.
Who cares about a lump of coal?
I fucking love coal.
You do. Well, it's because you grew up around an abundance of it in your little weird coal shed full of spiders.
Certainly, I grew up in a coal bunker, as we know. I fucking give me all the coal I can get. But don't put me in a sack and beat me with sticks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So, like, there has to be a point where the parents of Elm Street or Finland or whatever all get together and decide that this thing that's, like, hurting their children isn't allowed to be a thing anymore. So they freeze it in ice and build a mountain around it so it can never come out again. They should have just killed it with explosives then, to be fair.
Yeah, could have just killed it. No, I get that. And all right, I understand that now. So why the fuck are they bringing him back is my next question.
Yeah, so I didn't understand this excavation, whether they are looking for Santa. That one dude does seem pretty excited that they found Santa.
Yeah, and he does seem to be specifically looking for naughty, bad Santa.
Like he had that list of rules, Santa rules, printed up, ready to go.
Yeah, laminated.
So maybe he knew, but they were just sort of worker drone type people who were...
Yeah, I got the impression it was his dig, and he was specifically looking to unearth Santa. And then you got this thing where he's like really keen to tell someone, like he's like radio blah blah or whatever. But why? And they're melting him. They're actively stealing radiators and hair dryers in order to, again, pretty funny but very dumb. Like
it's a funny gag, but it doesn't make you laugh.
No, yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
you just summed it up. Yeah. So why? He's gonna burst forth and wreak havoc on Christmas. They're doing it on Christmas Day specifically.
He would still be there on January the 8th. Like,
yeah, does he want to rid the world of naughty kids? It would have been cool if we had like an arch aside where he told us what his crazy motivation was for defrosting evil Santa and unleashing him upon the world.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's like a comment on like, science and how people just want to explain stuff and they don't necessarily realize that like it will have an effect.
Yeah. Maybe this is the Christmas Jurassic Park.
Yeah. But yeah, everything after that first bit until the chase bit is, I would say, fairly dull. We get a lot of good kid stuff. We get some decent adult stuff. But there's a section, I would say, so the first act is, 35 minutes of like us getting to know the kid and getting to know the area, and the first act ends when all the reindeers are dead, right?
Yeah, thereabouts, I would say, yeah.
So, and that's cool, and there's cool stuff in there, and it's like, okay, we're setting the scene, we're getting started. The second act is they found the elf, and they're holding the elf prisoner, or the elf's, they think he's dead to start with, and they're holding him prisoner. The dad is trying to figure out what we already know. So the whole of the second act is us watching the dad and his mates try and figure out stuff that we already know. So we don't need to see that. It's boring.
They do it in a confusing fashion as well. I don't
Yeah.
know what they want to do with the Santa, because when he's dead, they want to dispose of the body.
Yeah.
Then when they find out he's alive, there's absolutely no effort to help him whatsoever. It's immediately like, oh, fuck, he's alive. How are we going to kill him now, kind of thing, which is dark as hell and doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily track for me.
Yeah, and the point when they realize or they think he's Santa, obviously we also think he's Santa until we see the big Santa. But
Yeah.
like they're like, oh, I guess we'll dress him as Santa and put him in a cage.
Yeah,
I just don't understand the trajectory.
in
It
order
doesn't
to
really-
ransom him. Fine.
First to ransom him back to the dudes,
Yeah,
and then ultimately to, commodify Santa and send him around the world.
of course. So that's the end of your second act, which you didn't enjoy because you were bored. And then the third act is when it's at least
Yeah,
serious.
it's chasey, posty, Santy. Like
Yeah. I mean, absolutely bang on brand. My favorite part was the first and second acts. And then as soon as you get to any kind of climax, I'm a bit disappointed. But I actually really enjoyed the family dynamic and the fact that this kid is having what can only be described as a very rural Finnish Christmas. Super bleak, very endearing, and some nice interplay there. I felt a little bit disappointed with the capture of the elf and the exploration of that. I like when he got a little bit evil and he got the little glint in his eye and he could smell the gingerbread. I thought that was kind of fun. We're getting a little bit Christmassy now. But it never fleshes out. It never reaches. I would have liked it if he would talk. Like, that would have been cool, I think. Just have him
Yeah,
say
no, I
some
agree.
ominous Christmas shit, you know?
There was, like I say, a lot of missed opportunities in this film. But
Yeah.
I also liked the family dynamic. That first act, as much as it was like quite a long act, it was setting up a load of things and we were getting to know these characters in a cool way. And then the second act that I found boring is like, we've already got to know these characters and now we're watching them do the thing that we also spent half of the first act doing.
Yeah.
Wondering what's happening. Why are there these old guys? We know it's Santa or something Santa adjacent because we've seen the poster. Like, nobody's going into this movie completely blind. Oh, Rare Exports. It's about, the opium trade in southern Peru. Like, do you know what I mean?
Finally, a movie about nutmeg.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
nobody's thinking that. Yeah, so that's pretty crucial for you, I guess, in terms of your enjoyment of the film. You don't like boring stuff where you're exploring shit that you already know ad nauseum.
Yeah, there are ways to do that in a way where we don't have to watch someone get to the speed that we're up to, or even like sometimes it is interesting to watch. The reason that Columbo starts with us seeing the murder is so we can watch Columbo get to where we were an hour ago, but he
Because
does it
we
in a
love-
fun and engaging way.
Yeah, we love Columbo and we love everything that he goes through to get there. So we're with him.
Exactly. But when we're watching the people that don't necessarily believe the kid finally come along with him to believe that this is, at first they believe it's Santa and at second they realize it's an elf. Like, it doesn't happen in that engaging way. We don't get the whoosh of it. We don't get the Columbo.
Yeah, I think sometimes the sort of Jeopardy misfires aren't explained really. Like when the kid runs off to the cop and gets taken away in the cop car, you're like, ooh, now we're ratcheting shit up big time. You're going to drive a wedge between father and son. There's going to be like a tricky situation coming up here. And they just end up in the same place and that's it. They just carry on.
Yeah.
They go to his mate's house, discover all the sacks have been nicked, which I thought was, again, a good bit that wasn't that funny, but works. And it does, again, lift you into a slightly mysterious space, which I like. But I wanted to see what the fuck was going on there. Like, what's the cop going to do? Nothing, it turns out.
Yeah.
Weird.
I have a question, Sam.
Go on.
Evil Santa, is that a thing that you're interested in more generally?
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Especially the folkloric side of it. The only things that are scary in this movie are directly from folklore.
Yeah. What about Evil Santa in movies where it's just like, it's Santa, but he's evil for whatever
Oh,
reason.
fuck yeah. Yeah, I love that shit. I've seen quite a lot of variations on that theme work quite well.
Mm.
I even quite enjoyed Silent Night, Deadly Night. Wait, is that what it was?
There is Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's also Silent Night, Violent Night. But I assume that
That's
you
the one.
mean
I mean both.
fair.
I like there's something that's got mileage for me in the perversion of the modern idea of Santa Claus. And I don't mean that the folkloric version is perverse in any way. I mean taking what it's become and just making it really fucking evil. I like that level of infection. And if, in movies and books and lore in general, I love the idea of the forces of evil and that ethereal, intangible evil infecting something really good. And to me, Father Christmas, Old Saint Nick, is ripe for that. If you're an evil entity and you want to
Yeah.
infect something that's really going to ruin some people's days, you go straight for Santa Claus. And there's just mileage in that as far as I'm concerned. And I like seeing what people do with it. So I really enjoyed the fact they harvested Santa's horns in this. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So my issue with evil Santa in movies is that he
Yeah.
doesn't kill enough kids.
Yeah, you got to rack up that kid body count. You got to
Yeah.
not be shy of that.
The reason that Santa being evil would be scary is the access that he has to children across the world.
Yeah, I want to
Like-
see him relishing the slaughter.
Absolutely. That's absolutely the thing that we're missing in evil Santa movies.
I want an evil Santa that scalps children,
Yeah.
collecting their scalps,
Shoves
booting them off
coal
cliffs.
down their throat until they choke to death. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolute, all that good shit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know why society won't let us watch Santa massacre a load of children. We're not babies. Either way, we haven't. I mean, I'm using the fucking very broad royal we here. I don't think I've seen an evil enough Santa yet.
I would like to see a really evil Santa.
Mm.
And I think the nearest thing that we get to an evil Santa that's actually the evil Santa that I want is the Grinch.
Yeah, the Grinch.
Do you know what I
is so
mean?
Great. Yeah, I love the Grinch.
Because like evil Santa in most movies is not Santa. It's a guy who dresses as Santa. I mean, so's the
Yeah.
Grinch. Let's be honest with ourselves. But like the Grinch goes to people's houses and steals their presents
Hmm.
and basically tries to fuck up Christmas for them.
Yeah.
Most evil Santas just want they're not really evil. They're just sort of selfish, or they have a very specific person that they're trying to kill,
Yeah. True.
and they kill around that.
That's why the really black-hearted folklore evil Santa has such
Yeah.
appeal to me, because you don't need a backstory. You don't need to explain why. Here he is. He's evil Santa. And that's why I like Krampus. Nobody needs to know why Krampus is out just ripping kids' heads off. It's just what he does. It's his thing.
Yeah.
Conversely, I also really like a good psycho Santa. Just a guy who put the outfit on and went around with an axe. I just really fucking like that too.
Yeah, well, like that episode of Tales from the Crypt that we watched
Yeah. That is
for the
magic.
Patreon last year, like that's great. But
Yeah.
like nobody's gonna ever do that as good as that.
No.
So I want Santa to be, what's the word, possessed by Pazuzu or whatever, and like full on demonic possession, real life. He exists, but you wish he didn't.
Yeah, you want the
Santa.
Blair Witch Project, but Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd buy that. And this film, while it doesn't go there, does give us a horde of naked, evil Finnish elves, which is something I was really grateful for.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the movie, it does have a pretty high bar of ingenuity, imagination, a willingness to go places that you're not expecting, and a spirit of fun that I think is lacking in a lot of Christmas horror.
Yeah. Could we talk a little bit about other Christmas folklore?
Sure.
Because I've got a bunch of favorites that I love.
Well, roll out the barrel, bud. Let's tap this keg. What you got?
There are very few Christmassy folklore films. Obviously, we got a bunch of Krampus movies. Most of them suck. One of them was okay.
Right.
Obviously, we all love Krampus.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, in Austria and Bavaria, they're pre-Christian, or even like their sort of festive like festival they have is called Perchenlauf.
Hurchenlauf.
And as part
Right.
of their Perchten festival, they have these two mythical beings. So there's Sean Perchten, who bring good fortune and blessings, and they have Shaq Perchten, who are scary demonic figures that drive out all of the evil in the world. They're so scary that evil is scared of them.
Mm.
Love that. Obviously, in Latvia, not obviously, but in Latvia,
Obviously, in Latvia.
they have like an old man Christmas. He's called Zemazvetku,
Ziemaszwedku.
who delivers gifts and lights candles and does cool stuff.
Are you a big fan of Belsnickel?
I love a Belsnickel.
Belsnickel? Belsnickel's good fun.
Yeah.
Just a furry, creepy, whippy guy going around smacking your kids. I love how much fucking beatings these kids are getting from these creepy old men all the way through folklore, just whacking your kids. What about Yule Cat? You a big fan of the Yule Cat?
I love a Yule Cat. I love a Yule
Iceland's
Goat.
got it made, right?
Yeah.
Fucking such good shit.
I love the Mary Lwyd. That's like the Welsh goat skeleton, the horse skeleton on a stick,
Yeah, very
which
cool.
is like Christmas adjacent. Big fan.
Yeah, I've got Christmas cards with that on it that I send every year. I buy them from a very folklore themed artist who loves doing all that shit at Christmas. I mean, listen, I've already fucking bust my wad here, but the Yule lads are my all-time favorites. But I love a good Belschnickel and a Yule cat. I'll take a skeletal horse. What I'm wondering is, are we going to create any new folklore for future generations?
No, it's over. Folklore is over.
Shit.
Like historically, folklore was pre-mass communication, word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
So like that can't exist anymore. Everything in the future has an explanation, and so you can't be like, oh, if you can't talk to fucking 2024's children and be like, if you walk too close to this lake, Jenny Greenteeth will jump out and pull you in, because they'll be like, no, she won't, you fucking knob. And then they'll stab you. Yeah.
I guess.
So like these things that or cultures like developed in order to basically stop kids from being dicks.
Yeah.
Like they just can't exist in that way anymore.
But we do continue to tell kids that Father Christmas is real, and if you're good, you'll get presents, and if you're not good, you'll get coal. And they choose to buy into that.
But does anyone ever get coal?
Me and my brother definitely got coal a couple of times growing
Well, it's 'cause
up.
your parents had coal on hand, as we've.
Yeah, we always got coal. I don't know, man. I think you could pretty much tell kids anything, and they believe. Maybe on a smaller scale, families are responsible for creating their own folklore.
I think that's the thing. I think traditions now are much more tightly held in family units than they were as like wider cultures.
Yeah.
Like obviously we all celebrate some bastardization, cannibalization of Christmas.
Mm.
Even like, I mean, in the UK at least, even like, people who don't celebrate Christmas, or people from religions where they don't have a Christ figure, or their Christ figure has a different name, but he did all the same stuff, because all religions are the fucking same, because they're all built on the bones of traditional folklore that predated Christianity or Islam or whatever.
Right.
Like, yeah, I think that stuff is happening in houses now, within families.
I love Christmas traditions, and I feel like horror movies feature really strongly in my modern Christmas traditions, because in a way they're replacing folklore and they're reinventing folklore. I still fucking love all the folklore, and I have loads of cool books, and I've got a good book of Christmas chillers that's all based on folklore. But more and more, I'm finding I'm weaving that kind of stuff into my Christmas on a yearly basis.
Yeah, and I think like the traditions that people have of like watching certain films and drinking certain drinks while they decorate the tree, or some families have a tradition where the night before, like Christmas Eve night, everybody opens one present, or everybody
Yeah.
gets a new pair of pajamas that they get to wear on Christmas Day, or
Mm.
fucking whatever. Like, and those obviously they're not rooted in folklore,
Yeah.
but like they are the modern Christmas traditions,
Yeah.
as well as like, you know, we all have a fucking turkey or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but those traditions differ from house to house.
Yeah.
And like, you know, some people might see someone else doing it and then also do it. Like, I'm sure that not just one house in the UK share out their pajamas on Christmas Eve, but like,
Well, I learned all about the Christmas pickle in
Yeah?
relatively recent times. I didn't know anything about Christmas pickles when I was a kid. It was only when I was older that I found out you could hide a Christmas pickle in your tree, and the person who finds it gets to eat chocolate. I think that's cool as shit.
yeah. You never played hide the pickle with your parents as a child?
If I did, I've blocked it out of my memory. So, you know, in the spirit of rich Christmas traditions, I'm imagining that the movie Rare Exports is not going to be featuring on your regular Christmas movie list, unfortunately.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll get into my final thoughts. In fact, should we just take a break now and come back and do our final thoughts?
Let's do that.
All right, let's do that.
All right, sure.
All right.
Come on, man, does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there, it's just dead air.
Okay, Sam. I'm
Ooh,
back.
Easy Tiger coming in hot. Yeah, I'm back too. Here we are.
Do you know what the naughty kids are doing this Christmas?
Getting absolutely rumpus pumped by Bell Snickle and the boys. The Yule Cat, Bafana, absolutely pummeling their butt cheeks with all kinds of switches and sticks and canes, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think. I think what actually the nasty naughty kids this year
Mm.
are doing exactly the same thing as the nice kids, and that is going to our social media accounts at FT Horror Show on TikTok, Instagram, and the new one. What's it called? The butterfly.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, and following us and engaging with all of our lovely, lovely content, festive
Do it.
and non-festive content. What else are the naughty kids up to?
Getting brutally sodomized by Krampus if they don't like, rate, and review our podcast on every available format immediately.
If you're listening to this on YouTube, you know, make sure you're subscribed. If you're listening to this on anything and you think it's really good, just don't forget that there's a Patreon where you can watch this happen in an almost unedited stream of unbridled success.
You won't believe what we're wearing.
You won't.
How's that for clickbait? If you're watching on YouTube or anything like that, the easiest thing to do is give us a thumbs up. Go on, just do it. Job done.
Yeah.
Lovely. Magic. Cheers.
Okay, so that's all that done. We've got that out of the way. Admin. See how that admin only took 2 minutes, not
Not even
fucking
that.
86 minutes or whatever it took in this movie.
Yeah. I have to say, I don't hold anything against this movie. It didn't feel like a waste of time. It didn't insult my intelligence. I wasn't bored. It just kind of happened, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen an awful lot of Finnish movies.
No. Have you
So
seen
I
anything
don't-
else by this director? Because, you know, he's obviously pretty well renowned.
So he directed Sisu, didn't he?
Yeah, which people love.
Yeah, so I started Sisu and I didn't finish it, and I don't remember why. I don't know if it was like I fell asleep or I stopped watching it to go cook dinner and then I came back and ended up watching fucking Rick and Morty or something. I don't know.
Love this wild speculation as to why you didn't finish a film. I don't know if I just stopped or if I left.
Yeah, I don't know if like someone broke into my house and slit my throat and I'm dead on the sofa still to this day.
Could be a thing.
And Netflix is like, "Are you still watching?" And I'm like, "No, I'm dead, mate."
Maybe you
Who
shit your
knows?
pants.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
you
still.
just weren't in the mood anymore. The fucking options are endless here. Anyway,
true.
you didn't finish it. People love it. I think
Yeah.
he's probably a really good director, and we're just fucking ignorant pricks.
Well, I think like there are some cool things. The visuals are great. There's a fantastic dolly zoom when they sort of
Yeah.
crescendo that hill, and the dad sees all the dead reindeer, and we have that sort of dolly zoom moment. I love that. Like, it's a cool, and I've said it 35 times at this point, but it's a cool idea to try and understand the modern interpretation of Santa Claus and how that's built on top of existing folklore. And like, smash those two things together. I think another film could do it a bit more pointedly and a bit more aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
But this film does it, and it's cool that it does that. The main thing that I learned from this movie is that Issy means dad.
A lot of that. Yep.
Lot of that.
A lot of that. Yeah. A lot of the dad word.
The ending is sort of twofold because it's like the working class Finns have taken Santa back and now they're in control of distributing him out. But then also like Finland is the thing that was distributing out Santa to begin with. So like confused, but like there's loads of different things that are happening there. I think for the most part though, what you said is right, is that the movie just sort of happens.
Yeah.
It never really grips you by the nuts and drags you along with it. It's just sort of like, here's some stuff that's happening. You want to come along? No? Okay, well, we'll be over there like doing some Santa stuff.
We're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give it, 6 out of 15 dead reindeers.
That's not bad. Well, no, that is bad. But it's not. I don't want to rate this movie. I don't want to rate it at all, really. I fucking hate rating movies, which is a strange preference for a guy who does one horror podcast a week. Listen, for me, this is not a Christmas classic, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean it sucks. I can't take away from Oni Tomila's performance in this movie. I think he's absolutely fantastic from start to finish, and I hope he has a fucking brilliant career. He really, really pulled me in, and I was kind of hanging on his every move until he started flying through the sky on a sack full of kids, which again, in theory, is hilarious. It's all over my sense of humor. Like, it's right in the red zone there. It should have me cracking up. And when I saw all the kids in sacks, that really did give me a chuckle. So there were moments in this movie of, for me, genuine levity, true Christmas cheer, and some real broad sweeps of Christmas tragedy as well, which I really enjoy. A middle-aged Finnish man, a widower, sitting with his son, crying by the window a couple of days before Christmas. Lovely stuff. I'm all over it. So there was a lot of stuff that definitely got at least the base of my dick racing. I'm going to give this movie 5 shriveled elf dicks out of 10. Because it just feels bang average to me. I can't rate it below because I wasn't pissed off or annoyed or at any point completely disengaged. But it didn't spark my Yule log as hard as I would have liked.
Yeah, it didn't fire up your log.
No, it did not fire up my log. It didn't light up my tree.
Yeah.
No.
Didn't tickle your baubles.
Nope.
Tell me, what is your Christmas horror movie tradition? Obviously, we talked pre-nog this time last year on the Patreon, but for the mains out there, the people that weren't subscribed to the Patreon, will you tell us a little bit about your Christmas horror faves?
Well, I'm an absolute sucker for Black Christmas. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just Christmas, not just horror, but I really rate it as a horribly nasty, deeply troubling piece of cinema. I love its place in the slasher canon. I think it's still has bags of mileage for me. I wouldn't say I watch it every year because I like to preserve just how creeped out I get when I watch it and just how cold it feels. And it's a really merciless hackathon, and I enjoy how punishing it is. So it doesn't really get me in the Christmas spirit, to be honest. I love the general aesthetic, and we talked a lot about the setting and just how it conjures up a feeling of dank Christmas almost, which I think is right up my street. I do love that movie. What about you? What's your number one? If you had to pick a number one Christmas
horror. See, that's tricky. So I mentioned at the top, like, I'm not Mr. Christmas, Mr. Horror. I'm not Mr. Christmas.
Right.
So festive horror has never really spoken to me in the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I like a bunch of Christmas movies. I love Christmas Vacation. I recently watched The Holdovers. I love that.
Yeah.
Loved that. It was great.
You love Gremlins.
I do love Gremlins. But see, like, the thing that makes me like Gremlins is the dead Santa in the chimney story.
Yeah, that's very fun.
Like, that's the
so dark.
that's the bit of Gremlins that I like the most. I like Gremlins 2 way more than I like Gremlins, which is, a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just more silly. The best bit of Gremlins for me is when they're all in the bar and they're all drunk.
Yeah.
And they're being Gremlins 2 Gremlins.
Yeah.
So,
I can't honestly say that the tree is really hanging with ripe fruit when it comes to Christmas horror movies. And that's why I think Black Christmas stands out head and shoulders above the rest for me, because there is some righteous trash out there. And I won't even bore you to tears with how many Christmas movies I love. Black Christmas is really the only horror movie that gets right the fuck in there every year.
Yeah.
I really want to love Silent Night, Deadly Night because of the idea, but there's so much of it that I just think really sucks. I love the aesthetic and I love some of the stuff that happens, but it's another kind of swing and a miss as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I like Christmas Evil. It's pretty good. And we've talked about this before. I don't know if you've actually watched it yet, but there's a short film called Treevenge, which I like a lot, which is about family of a Christmas tree coming to the people that chopped down their son to take
I
their
haven't
revenge.
watched that yet. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, it's really silly, but like, it's good. It's good fun. Horror tropes
Did we
galore.
do Christmas Evil on the pod? We did, didn't we?
No, we did Black Christmas.
We never did Christmas Evil.
I don't think so.
Oh, I quite enjoyed that. So our message is, get it right, someone.
Yeah.
Do a modern Christmas horror that fucking rips.
My favourite Christmas horror is that episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, it's basically perfect.
Yeah.
Not long enough. My only criticism.
Yeah.
Something about Christmas and axes. I fucking love it.
Yeah, well, it's like Christmas themed things that are Christmassy, but then you subvert them. Like wood chopping at Christmas. Like I've never chopped wood at Christmas, but like it's a thing that I associate because the fire's roaring. I've never really had a real fire either. But like, do you know what I mean? Like these are all things that I associate with Christmas. So you take that and you subvert it rather than just being like, it's a bad guy and he's got a Santa hat. Like boring. That's why the bones of this, the bones of Rare Export, were something that I was really, really excited to dig into. I just wish it was meatier. I wish that all of those Santa dicks were meatier.
I think the dicks were plenty meaty. There's a lot of meat in this movie. It's a real Christmas midnight meat train.
It's, midnight, brandy, and mince pie train.
You got brandy on the brain, boy.
It's Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. You keep the change, you filthy animal.